So this thing's been bugging me all freaking week. We had, last weekend when we took this out, we had carburetor issues. More specifically, we had fuel delivery issues. And, well, it was frustrating. And after doing a bunch of thinking about it, and doing some reading, making sure I understood how the different parts of the carburetor come into play throughout the fueling process when you slam on the gas, I suspect, I'm almost certain that we have a blockage in the primary fueling circuit, either in the jets or in the metering block, or an issue with the power valve, which we're about to find out. When I turn the key, it should start and idle just fine, which means the idle circuit's fueling properly. If I hit the accelerator pump by whacking the throttle, the accelerator pump squirts like it should. So when I go to start it, and this will be a cold start, you can see the header tubes are 83 degrees right now, which means that, you know, it's about 80 degrees out right now. It must be about 83 degrees out in where the car's sitting right now, because that's the temperature that's in it. So if it starts and idles properly and the accelerator pump squirts properly, the only explanation for lack of fuel when it's under load and you whack the throttle is either plugged primaries or an issue with the power valve not taking over after the accelerator pump gets hit. So I think the plan is we're going to get this thing moved down to the shop, and then I'm going to pull the carburetor off of it, and we're going to pull the carburetor apart and see what we can find, and if we can identify any issues, do a good cleaning on it, and see if that doesn't fix the fueling issue. Let's see. Or maybe not. Maybe we did something else. We will find out. Yeah, it just needed another whack on the accelerator pump to get it front and pull the fuel in it. But as you can tell, high idle on the choke is super smooth. No smoke, no weirdness. It sounds good and happy, but when you give it throttle, it wants to lay over and die. So it's got to be an issue in the primary circuit of the carburetor. The only thing I can think of. So, yeah, let this warm up for a quick second before I try and move it, because I'm sure as soon as I put it in gear, it'll go through it. And we'll get it down to the shop, pull the carburetor, see what we got. Okay, we got the car down to the shop successfully. It actually didn't give me too much of a trouble because I moved it while it was still in high idle and it didn't stall out on me. But anytime I bumped the throttle, it wanted to, well, it had a real nasty boot and then go. So conveniently, it's downhill to the shop. So we just rolled it on down here, head idle. A little bit of backstory. This carb is not a new carb when it went on here. It's actually a couple years old. It came off of another motor that was running. Actually, it was on that motor, the little 327 for a while, which video just posted on that. It sounds amazing. Doesn't get old. Anyway, that's not the highlight for today. The highlight for today is going to be making this one sound a whole lot better. Last weekend we took this out to Tulsa to the drag strip because Paige wanted to do some running at a Cars and Coffee deal at the drag strip that they were doing some racing. That event was an absolute show, and we probably won't go back to a Cars and Coffee and drag racing because it was a mess of a deal. but we had some significant fueling problems. And
yeah, I went down the track like driving Miss Daisy. Definitely unhappy. I don't know what happened that time.
yeah, I more like a little rascal scooter type speeds. It was awful. The car just did not want to go. And unfortunately, I didn't bring tools with me worth of crap to actually look at anything. So we just packed it up and called it good. So before we went last weekend, I pulled the Edelbrock off of here because I just can't stand the Edelbrocks because this had a 1406 on it. Ditched that for the Holley. Did a quick clean on the Holley. Thought it was good to go. Ended up having to replace both needles and seats in this carburetor because neither one of those were sealing, which should have been an indicator that there was other issues impending from it sitting on the shelf. But the idle seemed good and it seemed all right, and it loaded up on the trailer fine when we went, which I'm glad we decided to trailer it because we had to trailer it home. But despite those issues, we went for it and it was a mess. So I've got the carburetor back off of it. I'm fairly certain the issue is in the primary metering block, and I think we've got a fuel blockage. I haven't flipped the carburetor around or anything, and I was real careful about taking it off to not dump any of the fuel out of the float bowls. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to pull the screws out of the float bowls, which means as soon as those come out, some fuel should weep out right here, which would indicate that our floats were at the proper level, which, presuming how well it idled, I suspect that we're pretty good here. Hey. Yeah, so fuel just weeping out, that's pretty right on point. So that float bowl's at an appropriate level. And we'll check the other side. Oh, the secondary is low. So we're not getting fuel out of the secondary float bowl, which means either the float's set low or we have a different blockage going on that's keeping fuel from getting to the secondary. That could be a big part of the issue. Okay, we're going to start by pulling the secondary bowl off and see if there's any fuel in there. That would definitely contribute to having a fueling problem. That's loose. All right, and when you on a Holley, typically, in most cases, every Holley I've ever seen, when you pull the bottom float bowl screw out, that's how you drain the float bowl. So this should drain fuel out if there's any in there. And that's not looking promising. That just came out dry. So we're not getting any fuel to the back half of the carburetor. That'll definitely cause fueling problems. I presume this one's going to come out dry as well. So, oh yeah, bone dry, no fuel in the secondary. And I guess I should have pulled the float bowl when I did this carburetor before and did the needle and seat. You can see that that's a bit rusty. So this carburetor probably needs a complete overhaul, which conveniently, ooh, yeah, with how much rust is on these bolts, I'm going to say that there's all kinds of stuff plugged up in this carburetor. That's disgusting. I guess we should keep those on the secondary side of the table. See if we can get this float bolt to come off of here. Bone dry, absolutely no fuel in the secondary. So that is a huge part of our problem. Oh, and the float's driven all the way down and stuck. This may have been a a tuning error on my part, but and look at how much junk is in here. This should have been pulled apart and cleaned. This is a classic error of, I was in a hurry and thought this was in better shape. So that's disgusting and without a doubt contributing to our problems. And this is all super nasty back here. That's outstanding. I'm irritated with myself over that one. See how bad the front is. I'll crack that loose. We know there's fuel in here because it came out the float screw. Man, I thought I had that float screw set before we went. So this is going to dump fuel, yeah. So at least we had fuel in the carburetor. That's awful. I'm disappointed with myself. This is why you should not do changes without giving yourself a little bit more time to actually check and make sure they're good. Because I rushed putting this on the car last weekend, and clearly that was a mistake. Yeah, this carburetor is going to need a complete overhaul, which I think we can do. I think I've got everything to do an overhaul on this today, between some kits on the shelf and the other parts carburetors that I can rob parts off of. Oh, yeah, look how nasty that is in there. There's gunk. That's probably all through all the orifices. At least this float was doing what it was supposed to, so that's good. And the accelerator. I mean, we know that part was working.
Yeah.
I did get the accelerator pump going at least. That's awful. This thing is disgusting. So the lesson to be learned here, if you pull a carburetor off the shelf, regardless of how it looks externally, take it apart and look at the inside and inspect it, because it could be as disgusting and useless as this one was. Yeah, we're going to need new gaskets. Power valve's not stuck, but that doesn't mean it was working properly. Oh man, I don't know that it'll show up on camera, but so no fuel in the secondaries, and then I don't know, you can try and get it to focus right there where I'm pointing. Let's see if I can add a little bit of light. Yeah, here I do. Right there. You can see how much gunk is actually in there. That's just at the surface of where the metered fuel from the jet makes its way into the carburetor. Yeah. In short, babe, I set you up for failure and sent you out with a carburetor that was a real hot mess.
Thanks.
Sorry. I was in a hurry. We were trying to make it better and I jacked it up. So
You owe me.
that's why I'm out here working on yours, getting this sorted out. We'll get it cleaned, put back together, and from there we'll see what it does, see if we can't tune it a little bit and get it working properly and dialed in a little bit better than it was, which shouldn't take much effort. And I won't work on that one for now until this one pisses me off.
Oh, yay.
So I'm going to get to cleaning. The cleaning process here is just going to be slow and tedious. I'm going to use some good old B-12 Chemtool to flush this stuff all out, get everything cleaned up, take a little bit of wire brush to it, use some compressed air, make sure all the ports are clean and clear, get all the nasty out of here, readjust this rear float, because obviously that was causing a problem. Oh, and the fact that fuel's coming out of the crossover, it's just because the float was set way wrong, which is bizarre because I thought I had it set initially. We did that with you cranking on the key, and apparently I still jacked it up. So we'll adjust that and get it to where we have some float action. It doesn't matter, I'm going to end up having to take this all apart anyways to get it all clean, so there's no reason to try and get a rough set on that. But the float moves, adjust the needle seat and the float will move again, so that means it's kind of doing what it's supposed to, but man, there's a lot of gunk in here. So, like I said, I'm gonna get to going cleaning and see if we can't get this fixed up so that this car is drivable again. Best I can do.
Thanks.
So, I just pulled out the first of the two jets and take a gander at this nastiness.
You got a little bit of a glare.
That's actually in the jet port. I mean, there's a ton of this gunk in here. This definitely explains our fueling issue. This carburetor is gummed up like no other, and based on the type of gunk that's in here, I'm gonna guess this is an issue where I suspect that the car had ethanol fuel in it at one point. You know, the typical at the pump 10% ethanol, because you can't get non-ethanol fuel everywhere. And with the amount of crud that's in here and with the jets plugged up that bad, pull the other one out. This looks like I probably put it on the shelf away without cleaning the ethanol fuel out of it and let it evaporate in there. Oh, that side's pretty clear actually, so it's only gummed up real bad on one side, which would explain why it was partially run, but run really crappy. And yeah, there's gunk inside that jet, and that one's got a little gunk in it. But if you leave ethanol, if you let ethanol fuel sit in a carburetor, and it'll do it on a fuel injected engine as well if you don't clean them out or keep them running regular or run a fuel system cleaner. If the ethanol fuel evaporates in there, it leaves all kinds of nastiness behind. And if it happens in a cyclic manner, then you just build up more and more crud. And this is quite literally filled with crud in the primary metering circuit. It didn't help that the float was clearly set wrong on the rear bowl, so we were only fueling through the primary side of the carburetor. And to make it worse, we were fueling with a metering circuit that was at least 50% plugged. So that's why your car ran like dog crap. Anyways, I just thought I'd show you that because when I pulled that jet out of there, that was extremely nasty, which that I expected to find after thinking through this all week long as to what was going on with it. I expected to find a problem in the primary fueling circuit, and sure enough, we have a problem in the primary fueling circuit. So if we get this all cleaned up and put back together, your car should run a whole hell of a lot better. I said should.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we're gonna get back to cleaning. It's back in the car.
Yeah, after we had a lot of issues with me and myself and you.
There was a little bit of B-12 Chemtool overspray. We'll call it that. Anyway,
in my eye.
Anyway, you went to the wrong direction at the wrong time, and it went through a port, and I didn't know where it was going. Anyway, it's clean. It's cleaned out. I I preset the floats. Oh, you gotta take this for a second. I didn't plug the ignition back in. We cranked on it. The floats seem like they're both good. There's fuel coming, just weeping out of both of the bowls, which is what it should be doing, which means we've got fuel front and back. We got all the garbage out of it. And didn't look like we had any fuel leaks. Everything's cleaned up. So now we try and start it.
Fingers crossed. Everything
Yeah.
goes good.
I think we're good. I think it should be happy. I mean, we may have some tuning to do. The idle's probably going to be off because the fuel's going to be different. Fuel mixture throughout all of it. Probably everything's going to have to be tuned again, which it was never really tuned the first time because it was acting up and we couldn't get past that. But I think we're there now. So why don't you give us some key action? Let me see. Yep, we got squirter action. So you should be able to just whack the key and it should go.
Alright.
Almost. Okay. Well, it sounds right. It's idling decent. We got oil pressure. So far, so good. Seems happy on the throttle bump. You close your door. All right. Drop it in gear. Don't go anywhere. Just drop it in gear. What's the RPM look like? RPM. 700? That's pretty happy. 700 is a good RPM and it sounds good. Put it back in gear in reverse and keep your foot on the brake. I'm going to bump the throttle so it might want to move. Let's keep your foot on the brake. Okay. That's a lot better than it was. A lot better. All right, well, at that point, I think I need to take it out for a drive and find out if we've got it fixed. So, go ahead and shut it off for now. We'll, so everything seems to be good. I don't know how well the audio is with me talking with it running, but the idle is actually really good. In gear, it was idling at about 700 RPM, which is fantastic. With an automatic, it seemed real smooth and happy. I had her drop it in reverse, which you probably heard, and bump the throttle. It didn't want to stall at all. Everything seemed happy. As soon as it came off the throttle, right back to idle. I don't see any fuel leaks. So I think it's good to take out for a drive. Being that it has been acting up, I'm going to have you stay here while I take it out for a drive. That way, if it acts up, you can bring me the truck and any tools I might need to fix it while I'm out. But I think we're in good shape. I think a carburetor clean out, good proper clean out, may have fixed our problems from last weekend.
Yay!
Fingers crossed. We got to get it out and drive it a little bit and make sure it's still happy, but it's already way better than it was.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'll catch up with you from out on the road somewhere. Well, I don't know how well you'll be able to hear. Probably halfway decent because these cameras have impressed me quite a bit. But I've driven through the neighborhood now, and I can already know it's our problem that we had before with fueling is more or less fixed. It drove through the neighborhood without any issues, shifted through the gears. We're about to get on it and see what happens here. Make sure it up and goes. I'll let one more car go by. All right, here we go. I think we fixed it. replaced because they were blowing by initially. But yeah, I didn't change the jets. I did end up changing the squirter. It's technically the same size squirter, but it's a little bit different style nozzle on it that should perform a little bit better. It's got one of the extended nozzles. But the actual squirter size is the same. The accumulator is the same. It's all good and happy. See if I can't get turned around right here at this road. I don't need to go any further. And yeah, there's a way to turn around right here. But yeah, she's definitely got a lot more pep. It definitely feels a lot better than it did when I drove it with the that Edelbrock on there. Much more responsive. The jet size I've got in here right now is a 65. Yeah, it's got 65 jets, a 31 squirter on it, and a 6.5 power valve. And well, without more diagnostic equipment like an AFR gauge, I don't know that I can actually get it much closer. Maybe the next time we take it out to a test and tune, we can start with some fresh plugs and try and make some fuel adjustments there if it needs it. But overall, this thing is pretty happy. And even after pushing on it, we're sitting at idle, 185 on the water temperature. It's got no problems. We'll get out here in the straight and do a dig. And we'll see what it'll do. We're in first gear. Bring it up. And oh yeah, second gear turn. Oh yeah. We did it. Holy shit. Paige is gonna have fun with this one the next time she goes to the track. Spun first gear, no problem. That's because it's not a posi. And then when we kicked second gear, we second gear chirped it, and I was popping gear 45 to 4,800 RPM, and it was pulling rock solid. It's a brand new car now with this Holley up in here. It's gonna be way better, way more better. We may have to go back and pick up Paige and take her for a little spin, show her what it'll do now. So either way, we'll see you back at the shop. I don't know if this will be the end of the video or if we'll go back out again today. Whatever the case, the Chevelle is fixed. Well, it's fixed. The idle's a little high. Need to adjust the idle down just a little bit, the neutral idle. But fixed.
Thank you.
Yeah. And let me tell you what, it ain't the same car you drove before.
Good.
Yeah.
Driving Miss Daisy was making me mad.
Oh, you just wait till you see the video. So, anyway, like I said in the car, there was a chance I was thinking we might just turn around and go take her out right now. But it is a little warm out. My butt's already a little bit sweaty. And I do need to adjust the idle just a little bit. And we've got some adulting things to do.
Yeah.
Turns out you kind of need food in the house to eat it. I don't know. It's just not magically there. So, we're going to go ahead and wrap this video up right here. The next video, we might even shoot it later this evening after we get back, after the sun starts going down and the heat goes away. We might take her out for a little ride in her car, show her what it can do, and then let her see what it feels like for herself, because it is a whole new monster now with this carburetor on there. Worlds better.
Yay.
Worlds better than that Edelbrock was.
Good.
Let's just say you're going to have to learn how to pedal. Just saying.
What the hell, honey?
You're going to have to. You wanted more power. You
what
gotta,
the heck, honey?
You got to learn how
what
to pedal.
What the heck?
We'll see you guys on the next one.